For the second time in less than a week, ICE officers have shot and killed a motorist in the middle of the street. For the second time in less than a week, the man they shot dead was not their intended target. For the second time in less than a week, an entire community is in mourning. This time it happened in Maine. At 7:15 this morning, residents in Biddeford, about 20 miles south of Portland, woke up to the sounds of reported gunfire when a federal immigration agent shot into the small white car that 26-year-old Colombian immigrant Juan Sebastian Guerrero was driving. Immigrant rights groups say Guerrero was authorized to work in the United States and had been issued a Social Security number. One eyewitness told the Portland Press-Herald he saw an unmarked SUV trying to ram a small white car at an intersection downtown. Moments later, agents in vests stopped the car and pulled the driver out. The witness said the driver was, at that point, quote, bleeding profusely from the head. He was talking. He said, "I tried to stop." Senator from Maine Angus King says Secretary of Homeland Security Markwayne Mullin told him Guerrero was shot after he had, quote, weaponized the vehicle against the officers. That's something that we've heard ICE say about many other shootings. But then less than 2 hours ago, we should note this, DHS released a statement officially saying the officer shot Guerrero, and they said out of fear of public safety when he attempted to flee the scene. So they are not claiming in this case that he attempted to weaponize his vehicle, and they are not claiming that the officer feared for his own life. Elected officials across Maine are calling for an investigation into what exactly happened, but we know this from one witness who spoke to the Portland Press-Herald after the gunshots. There were dozens of cars, officers, and a body on the ground. What bothered that witness most was the body of the victim was on that sidewalk for the next 5 hours. Guerrero leaves behind a wife and young daughter. So far, this shooting sounds like a story we've heard too many times. We saw it in Minneapolis with Renee Good, Chicago with Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, just last Tuesday in Houston with Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, and now today in Maine, another family that's just lost their loved one and another young child who just lost her dad. Congresswoman Shelley Pingree represents Maine's 1st congressional district, which includes Biddeford, and she joins me now. Congresswoman, I know it's been a very difficult and busy day for you, so I appreciate you making time for us. And I guess because we're trying to get our arms around what happened, you've been in touch with authorities, you've been in touch with people in the community. Do you have a sense of what happened this morning?
Yeah, it was obviously a horrendous incident. We've had a chance to talk to some of the neighbors. I visited the crime scene, and I was down there today around noon when there was already a protest and a vigil going on, and there's another one there tonight. People in Maine are significantly upset, really so angry that ICE has this continued presence in our state. And my basic feeling is that no one should leave their home at 7 in the morning going to work and fear that they might be shot and never see their 3-year-old daughter again. The justification originally for the person they said they were going after, I think, was utter bullshit. And then the fact that they shot the wrong person who is now no longer there for his 3-year-old daughter and wife is beyond horrendous. This is a case of ICE having way too much money, quotas to pick up as many people as they possibly can. And while we thought perhaps this ended after the catch of the day, as they called it when they were in our state several months ago, it certainly hasn't. I have an office in Portland, Maine, and my office has a steady stream of people who are targeted by ICE officers, generally all legally here in this country, just as the man they targeted today was, and members of families who come to us and say, we can't find someone who's been detained, or people who are afraid to leave their home and go to work because of incidents like this. Now they're going to be afraid that they will get shot if they leave their house.
Senator King, who has been working on this as well, also said that he was told that this was not the intended target. So it does seem like we don't know if they were tailing the car or they pulled it over. I also just want to read this detail from the reporting. You said he left behind a daughter, and I don't know if we have confirmation if this individual is his daughter. But in the Portland Press-Herald, which I have to say has done great reporting today, to thank the local reporter there today. A neighbor said she saw a girl she believes was the victim's daughter. She couldn't have been older than 3. She was still in her bluey pajamas. Do we know if the status of his family and if they're being taken care of?
They have asked for privacy, but as we understand, they are currently working with one of the advocacy groups, and we have reached out to them. And as soon as we have a chance, we will do whatever we can to assist the family. And I know all of Maine will be reaching out to help this family, particularly since, as it was confirmed by Markwayne Mullin to Angus King, they shot the wrong victim. I mean, they shot the wrong individual who is a victim.
There's also, the statement that DHS put out was notable to me, having covered now multiple of these. They have used this phrase, attempting to ram our officer, fear for the safety, weaponizing the vehicle. We've seen it time and time again, and time again we've seen it essentially refuted, belied by the video evidence. They're not even saying that right here, and my reaction is, I don't think it's legitimate protocol to fire into a vehicle that's trying to flee. I think this is actually something that's been litigated up to the Supreme Court. I mean, what's your reaction to hearing them not even make that claim here?
Yeah, I was completely shocked. Remember, this incident happened at 7 o'clock in the morning, and this was just released an hour ago after multiple stories had said that this was a weaponized vehicle. But as you said, they were fleeing the scene. They said it was a public safety concern. There's no accounts that this person had a gun or was attacking anybody else. And 4 shots went through the windshield. We've seen pictures of that. So to say that the vehicle was struck when this person was shot in the head through the windshield, it's just unconscionable. And I agree with you. This does not sound like any kind of protocol that any of our other public safety officers would be allowed to do. And what we've seen time after time is that ICE follows no traditional procedures. We've learned that there are no body cameras on this individual. And my understanding is that while we've pressed ICE to use body cameras, they have yet to be distributed throughout the country. So why they hadn't arrived in Maine by now, why these ICE officers continue to target our state, we're a very low crime state. We know the immigrants in our state generally to be our friends, our neighbors, our coworkers. I have an individual who currently can't leave his home. He's an ICU nurse because he is targeted by ICE, but he knows the day he steps out, even though he's legally there, he will be detained under these false pretenses that they use, are stretching immigration law, saying you overstayed a visa when, frankly, you're waiting for your asylum claim to be determined. I mean, the way they are using immigration law is unconscionable. The fact that somebody was potentially murdered by an ICE officer today and certainly questionably shot is very concerning to all of us.
The senior senator from your state, Susan Collins, who, of course, is running for re-election this year, tweeted that the Department of Homeland Security, Mark McMullen, has informed me the Boston office of the DHS Inspector General has taken over the investigation of the Biddeford shooting in cooperation with the FBI. We've seen the FBI and the Department of Justice be incredibly non-cooperative with other authorities in other investigations, including in Minnesota and other places. Do you have confidence that they will cooperate here and that actually a real investigation can be undertaken by DHS's own investigators?
Well, the delegation will certainly be pressing for a real investigation. And one of the things we've been emphasizing today is, unlike what happened in Minnesota, we want to make sure that the state of Maine has the full ability to examine the evidence. I mean, it did appear today that the crime scene had been secured and that there were multiple agencies working there today, but I don't know that for a fact. I know that our governor and our attorney general have been pressing to have full access to all of the materials, make sure that all of the evidence is protected. As you know, in Minnesota, they didn't do that. And perhaps this will be a legitimate investigation, but we certainly were going to need one.
Congresswoman Shelley Pingree of Maine, thanks for making time on a really harrowing day. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having us.